Hi readers, I'm Jessica Quinn from Cup of Books, and today I'm going to be reviewing Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I actually read Their Eyes Were Watching God over a month ago for the BookTube-A-Thon, and I've had some trouble filming a review for it, mostly just because I really liked it. Sometimes it's more difficult to film positive reviews than it is to film mixed reviews or negative reviews. Sometimes I can't really tell you what it was exactly that made it so fantastic. I just know that it was fantastic. So I had to sit and think about this one for a little bit. In this novel, our protagonist, Janie Crawford, tells her life story to her best friend, Phoebe, and the three different periods that are most distinct in her life are tied to her three different marriages. The novel is very much about how Janie forms her own identity, discovers her sense of self through the different relationships she has in her life, and how each marriage affected her and changed her and brought out something different in her. This novel just felt really genuine to me. There's something about Janie as a character that seems so real. She seems like a woman I could meet and have a conversation with. I really appreciated the progression of each relationship Janie has with the men in her life. They change over time. There's a progression. They have ups and downs, and they both change Janie and change on their own, and there's something very realistic about that to me. This novel takes a very intersectional look at class and race in talking about the experiences of poor African American people living in the South. I think it definitely helps if you're more familiar with United States history regarding slavery and the South to really get everything you can get out of this novel. For the most part, I think the portrayal of negative relationships is done really well in this novel, although there was at least one instance where it felt like it was a little romanticizing of abuse, and that really bothered me. It was one of those blink and you might miss it moments, very easy to just breeze through this novel and completely miss that line or two. In my experience, the thing that gets talked about the most when it comes to Their Eyes Were Watching God is Hurston's writing style. The prose in Their Eyes Were Watching God is written in what would be considered proper English, and I hesitate to use proper, but that's what it's considered, full of metaphors and just very beautifully descriptive passages, whereas all the dialogue is actually written in Southern dialects of the time period. And I will admit, the first few pages of Their Eyes Were Watching God were really difficult for me to get through because of the dialogue. However, once I got past the first few pages, I breezed through this book. I fell into a bit of a rhythm with the dialogue. I started to pick up more and more and more as I read. The differences between the dialogue and the prose could have clashed in a way that made this novel unreadable, but because of Hurston's ability as a writer, and because the story is just so engaging and the characters are so engaging, the dialogue ends up adding so much more to the prose, and the prose adds so much more to the dialogue, and they work really well together than you would have ever expected. I don't have that many negative things to say about this one. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave Their Eyes Were Watching God 5 stars out of 5 on my Goodreads account. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend doing so. It is a great American classic for a reason.